Do you feel numb or down a lot? Is loneliness something that you struggle with regularly? Do you believe that emotions make you weak? If you're a man, this is likely because much of what you've been told about emotions is wrong. This bad information is probably making your life more difficult. Keep watching this video to learn more about these destructive myths and for a vision on improving your life. Now let me be absolutely clear here. This isn't about shaming men, telling them they're broken, or trying to get them to be more like women, as many in our culture are prone to do. This is about finding ways to help strengthen good men so they can take care of what they need to and make the best lives for themselves and for those around them. So what are these emotional lies? The first lie tends to be more old school, but it's still prevalent today. It's the idea that men shouldn't feel emotions. Now, I'm not saying that men shouldn't be tough. There is virtue in being able to power through and do what needs to be done regardless of how you're feeling. That's grit, that's strength. What I'm talking about is the message that can come across with sayings like, rub some dirt in it. Don't let them see you sweat. Don't be a wimp. Whatever you do, don't let them see you cry. There are others, but you get the point. Again, these can be great tools to toughening up boys. It can also lead to getting into the habit of suppressing emotions, where as adults, you may feel limited to only expressing a few emotions like anger or lust. Our teaching of boys and young men should help them to develop masculine toughness, but it should also strengthen and empower them through skillful management of their emotions. And don't worry, for those of us, myself included, who were brought up in that limiting mindset, we too can learn these skills and start kicking even more butt. Another lie is that emotions are feminine or girly. Women tend to express emotions more freely than men, but men still experience them, and they are there for specific reasons which we'll go over in the next section. Now, over the last few generations, we have started to swing hard the other way, that your emotions mean everything. In the name of self-esteem, 2 + 2 can equal 5 as long as you think it does and it doesn't hurt your feelings. There are no winners nor any losers, so your feelings don't get hurt. That everyone is responsible for your emotions and the world should change itself to you. That is so toxic, and it creates a fragile mindset and puts them on a path of inevitable failure, bitterness, and resentment. The world doesn't care, and even if it did, it would be impossible to make happen. There are just too many conflicting needs and emotions, and frankly, emotions can frequently be unreasonable. We should guide ourselves with a quote from John Lindrum's book that states, "Emotions are excellent servants, but tyrannical masters." So now that we have some idea what's wrong, let's go over what emotions actually are. So what are emotions? Simply put, emotions are next level instincts. They are always scanning our environment to better prepare us for dealing with the world. You see, before we had our big sexy brains, i.e. our cerebral cortex, we had emotions to keep us alive. Anger is the fight response, preparing us for battle. Fear tells us to be cautious. Love tells us to spend more time with that person or people. This was really helpful because it's how we were actually able to survive childhood. What really illustrated this to me was by observing dogs. Their primary mode is emotional, and that's how you communicate with them. They don't use words and they have a limited neocortex, but you can tell by their vocalizations and their body language what is going on with them and what's going on in the environment around them. Now let's get specific on what functions emotions provide. According to dialectical behavioral therapy, emotions provide the following functions. Emotions motivate us to action. Good or bad, they come with action urges. These may be helpful or they might not. The trick is to figure out when you should or when you should not act on an urge. On the positive side, emotions can help you power through when things get difficult. Next, emotions communicate to and influence others. Facial expressions, body language, vocal tone, all communicate what you are feeling at that moment, and it's faster to understand than words. And these emotions influence the actions of the people around you. Finally, emotions communicate to ourselves. So all 5 senses are routed through the amygdala, where they're information is quickly pattern matched against the things that you have learned throughout your life. It is quick, which can be an advantage as you may get eaten if you're too slow. Unfortunately, this speed comes at a cost as it can often be incorrect. In other words, not all feelings are factual. The important thing is that they are messengers advising us on what we need to attend to and what we should do to survive. It's all about survival. Where it can get tricky is that emotions came before speech did, so they aren't always easy to understand. This is why it's sometimes called the unconscious mind. Regardless, emotions are neither masculine nor feminine. They're just human. And if you suppress or ignore your emotions, then you're going to go through life with half your brain tied behind your back, and you're going to ignore critical information that was intended to help you effectively navigate the world. So with that, what are some of the dangers of ignoring your emotions? First, they're designed to give you important information to act in the environment, which can make you stronger and more informed. If you ignore them, it can make you weaker and more vulnerable. Next, you can lead to loneliness. This is harder to connect with people without emotions, whether it's with a spouse, kids, friends, or coworkers. Additionally, you could make bad decisions as emotions play a strong role in the decision-making process, and as the rational brain was developed on top of the emotional centers. Finally, suppressing and avoiding emotions can lead to avoidant behaviors, which can lead to various addictions, and there are so many to choose from. Drugs and alcohol, sex, porn, food, gambling, video games, social media, even shopping. All of these release dopamine, which can give us a temporary release from difficult and painful emotions. So what is the answer? There's a scene in The Sopranos where Tony is talking to Dr. Melfi and he asks, "Whatever happened to Gary Cooper?" He was lamenting his idea that the strong, silent man who took on the toughest of life's challenges and didn't complain was a rarity in today's society. My idea is demonstrated in the following story about Gary Cooper. In his famous movie, High Noon, he is a marshal who was abandoned by everyone, including his fiancée, when he needed them the most. There's this long buildup where a hostile gang of killers is coming to town to get revenge on him, and everyone he thought were his allies and his friends turned their back on him. Everyone, including his woman, told him to run. The only problem is that he's not that kind of man. He has to do what's right, no matter the odds. And in the intense ending of the film, he does exactly that. He kills the outlaws, thereby stopping the threat. But in real life, the story wouldn't end there, would it? During that process, he experienced a number of traumas: the abandonment, the isolation, the fear, the injustice of it all, the threats to his life, the guilt for taking a life multiple times. And he's lucky that he wasn't put in an impossible situation where he had to make a split-second life or death decision involving an innocent that could go terribly wrong. Some or all of these things would not sit well, and he would likely have some pretty strong emotions around these events. If left undealt with, he would surely eat away at him. He might dream about it. He might have something innocuous that would set him off. Regardless, he would struggle. It would make him weaker. He might turn to drugs and alcohol, which would dull and weaken him further. It might even make him dependent. And if a similar situation came up again, he might choose to run, which would bring even more pain from the guilt of betraying his own values. Or if he did stand up, he might not even be sharp enough to survive it next time. What if that heroic marshal takes care of what he needs to do in public? Once done, he can attend to the emotional wounds that he received in the process. In this extreme case, a therapist or a therapy program would be appropriate. Through that work, he could heal the wounds and move forward being even more stronger and more prepared than he was before. The good news is that most of what we encounter today can be processed with a trusted friend or partner. Things like a confrontation with an angry parent that left you rattled, or witnessing an accident, maybe a conflict with your kid, maybe you're lonely. It could be a difficulty at work, especially if you're a first responder, a healthcare provider, or in the military. Be sure to start small with little things, but if they can prove that they can be trusted, then you will have an invaluable resource to strengthen and renew you through just talking about what bugs you in private. Sometimes you can release an emotion by just putting words to it. Hence the saying, you gotta name it to tame it. What's even better, the more you share and find out it's still okay, the stronger the connection you will have with that person. It can create an incredibly strong bond, which will elevate you guys even more. This will help you build your emotional skills. And with that process and some additional information and skills, you can level up your strength and your relationships through emotional mastery. Now, this channel is dedicated to providing helpful, practical, science-based methods to help you improve your life and those of the ones around you through mastering your emotions. So like and subscribe and stay tuned for exciting, life-changing new episodes. And if you like, feel free to comment on the things that you struggle with in regards to emotions.